All right, let's dive right in. Welcome to this explainer where we're going to unpack one of the most common, yet honestly deeply misunderstood human experiences out there: why we cry. We're going to explore the fascinating biological, chemical, and evolutionary mechanics behind shedding tears. I mean, it's something we literally all do from our first breath to our very last. But the actual science behind it, it's absolutely incredible.
So let's kick things off with a massive biological mystery. While plenty of mammals shed tears just to keep their eyes lubricated or to flush out a piece of dust, humans are actually the only animals on Earth known to cry purely in response to strong emotional experiences. No other creature out there weeps from grief or sheds a tear from overwhelming joy. You kind of have to wonder, right? Why is that? Well, to figure out why we cry emotionally, we first need to look at the machinery behind the tears themselves. Section 1. The anatomy of a tear.
Now, there's a pretty common misconception that a tear is just, a drop of salty water. But in reality, a tear is this super complex, three-layered microscopic shield that protects your eye. It is essentially a perfectly engineered biological sandwich. You've got the mucus layer at the very base, the aqueous or water layer right in the middle, and then a lipid or fatty layer on the outside. And what's wild is how different glands work together in perfect harmony to pull this off. Your conjunctival goblet cells make this sticky mucus layer, which is crucial because it actually lets the tear adhere and spread evenly over your eye, instead of just beating up and rolling down your cheek. Then, your lacrimal glands pump out the watery aqueous layer to deliver hydration, electrolytes, and antibodies to fight off infection. Finally, the meibomian glands along your eyelids secrete the lipid layer. That outer oily film seals the whole shebang in, so the water doesn't evaporate into thin air. It really is a total masterpiece of biological engineering. Section 2. 3 kinds of tears. Okay, so we have 3 different types of tears. First up, basal tears. Think of these as your everyday maintenance crew. Your body secretes about a gram of these every single day just to keep your cornea nourished and lubricated. Now contrast that with reflex tears. These are your rapid response defense mechanism. Say you're chopping an onion or a speck of dust flies into your eye, your sensory nerves instantly trigger a massive flood of these reflex tears to just wash the irritant out as fast as possible. But here is where the story gets super fascinating. When we compare those reflex tears with emotional tears, it's like night and day. Emotional tears aren't triggered by something physically poking your eye. They're triggered deep within the brain, specifically the limbic system, which is the command center for our emotions. From there, your parasympathetic nervous system sends a direct signal to the lacrimal gland to start pumping. And, as we're going to see in just a minute, because they originate from such a completely different place, their chemical makeup is totally unique.
Section 3. That lump in your throat.
We have all felt it, right? It's absolutely undeniable. You're watching an incredibly sad movie, or maybe you just got some really heavy news, and right as the urge to cry hits you, you get that tight, restrictive, super uncomfortable feeling in the back of your throat. It literally feels like you've somehow swallowed a golf ball. So what is actually happening there? Believe it or not, this universal feeling has an official clinical name. It's called the globus sensation, or globus pharyngeus. It's basically a tightening of the muscles in your neck, specifically around your pharynx, which is the tube connecting your mouth to your esophagus, and the muscles right around your larynx, or voice box. But the really crucial part is why this happens, and it actually all comes down to basic survival mechanics. When you get hit with a strong emotion like intense grief or stress, your fight or flight response kicks in. Your body floods with adrenaline, preparing to either sprint away or fight for your life. And to do that, your muscles need a ton of oxygen. So your nervous system forces your glottis, the opening that brings air to your lungs, to stay propped wide open. But here's the catch. When you try to swallow, your glottis naturally has to close. So your body is actively fighting to keep it open while you're trying to force it closed. Boom. That anatomical tug of war is exactly what causes that massive muscle tension and gives you the illusion of a lump in your throat. Now, while it can be incredibly uncomfortable, doctors are quick to point out that this sensation is 100% harmless. It is literally just your biology doing its thing. If you want to soothe it, you've got to work with your nervous system, not against it. Just taking slow, deep breaths actually signals to your brain that the threat is gone, which relaxes those throat muscles. Things like mindfulness, just being around a trusted friend, or even just keeping your baseline stress low with good sleep and exercise can really help calm this whole physiological chain reaction. Section 4. Chemistry of emotional crying. Remember a few minutes ago when we talked about how emotional tears are built differently than onion chopping reflex tears? Well, the proof is entirely in the payload. When scientists finally broke down the chemistry of emotional tears, they found super high levels of protein-based hormones like prolactin, along with adrenocorticotropic hormone, or ACTH, which is a massive indicator of stress. And perhaps the most mind-blowing part? They contain leucophilin. That's an endogenous opioid, which means your emotional tears literally contain a built-in, natural, biological painkiller. No way, right? This completely unique chemical payload is exactly why having a good cry actually makes you feel better afterward. It is a literal physical catharsis. Before you cry, your system is overloaded with cortisol, the main stress hormone, making you feel terrible. But as you weep, your body is physically flushing those stress hormones right out of your system through your tears. And at the exact same time, it's delivering a hit of those mood-boosting opioids we just talked about. Crying isn't a breakdown. It's your body's highly evolved chemical mechanism for self-soothing and resetting your emotional baseline.
Section 5. The social power of tears.
Let's zoom out for a second, because evolutionary scientists have studied this behavior intensely. They believe emotional tears evolved for a crucial social purpose, broadcasting distress to our community. Picture our early human ancestors out in the wild. Shedding a tear is this quiet, totally non-aggressive, yet incredibly visible signal. It alerts the tribe that someone is overwhelmed or in pain, asking for support without screaming and accidentally attracting a bunch of predators. So far from being a sign of weakness, which by the way is a completely modern, made-up cultural stigma, tears are actually a pro-social superpower. Studies consistently show that when we see someone crying, it reliably triggers deep empathy and helpful behavior in us. We are biologically hardwired to want to comfort a crying person. On top of that, research shows that people who cry are actually perceived as more friendly, authentic, and relatable. It totally strips away our social armor and builds deep connection. When you combine that with the physical self-soothing we just talked about, crying is revealed to be this wildly sophisticated evolutionary tool for survival and social bonding. We waste so much energy in our modern society trying to swallow that lump in our throat just to maintain this fake facade of composure. But humans are quite literally, anatomically, and chemically designed to cry. It's how we flush out stress and bind ourselves to the people around us. So here's a question for you to take away. The next time you feel the sting of an emotional tear coming on, are you going to keep fighting millions of years of brilliant evolutionary engineering, or will you finally just let your biology do its job?